Welcome back, friends. Today, we're going to go through the strategies that I'm using to optimize my inspirations within Royal Court, and how I go from random luck to actually creating the artifacts that I'm looking for. And if you're new here, I am Krovikin. Welcome to the channel. If you like grand strategies and you're looking for tips and tricks within those grand strategies, definitely hit that subscribe.
Oh my God, you had one job. You had one very simple job.
Definitely hit that subscribe button. And I'd also like to mention, we are almost at 500 subscribers. We're going to have a community tab soon. So that's exciting. I cannot wait to get access to that. So in this video, we're not going to go through the strategies of actually creating artifacts through the decision and commissioning that artifact, or random guests coming to your court. We're actually going to look at trying to get the guests that we're looking for, the inspirations that we're looking for, and up the chances that what we create and what we find through those inspirations are going to be quite beneficial. All right, so the first thing that we're going to jump into here is a new filter that I've set up for characters on looking for inspirations. Okay, so the first thing I've done is I've set the relationship to all, diplomatic range to inside, just to make it easier for us so that we're not trying to look at potential courtiers. They're on the other side of the world that we can't communicate to. And of course, feel free to expand your diplomatic range by just creating a tiny bit of border gore across the world so that you can get access to as many characters as you can.
All mine.
The next thing that we have is a marital status, unmarried. Now, we're going to be flipping this back and forth between unmarried and married. But yeah, this what we start off with, and has inspiration. And depending on your current ruler, you may actually want to switch your religion to either your particular religion or your religion group, just to make it easier to work with these strategies. Now that we actually have the filter set up, what are we going to worry about? Well, first, we're going to take a look at something that is going to be very critical to this strategy, and that is under your royal court. You'll want to go to your court grandeur. What you're going to want to do is you're going to want to set your grand lodgings to as high as you can. And the reason why is there is something that doesn't mention here. What it does is it gives a bonus to opinion for people coming to your court. Okay, so now let's go back to the filter that we had here. We're going to want to invite people to our court. Normally, the way that we would do that is we'd get someone to marry them. However, this is a little bit more complicated with the inspirations. So the reason why it's a bit more complicated, and the reason why is if you try to marry someone, is you come over here and you're going to go arrange marriage, and let's say we pick someone like this, someone obscure. Now, they're not coming over because they're not our religion. The faith of the chiefess, so her, is different than ours. So it's minus 1,000. So it's not going to, they're not going to come over. However, if we actually take a look over here, there is focused on his inspiration, negative 100. And this is for any courtier that has an inspiration. They will be focused on their inspiration, and they will be less likely to accept marriages. That's something we're going to have to get around, and we'll get around that later. But first, what we're going to want to do, because of that, we are going to want to just straight up see who we can invite to our court.
And that means I'm going to invite everybody.
Now, she's not going to come to our court. However, let's look at what we have here. Right here, we have that this is why we set our lodging to 50 or to level 5, is because we now have your lodging standards of plus 50. I haven't been to every level, but I believe that this is set by plus 10 per level. So at the 5th level, you'll be plus 50. This is huge for inviting. This means that as we go through this list, there'll be a lot of people that are going to be willing to come to our court just straight up. Okay, so she's inspired, and she's inspired to be a metalsmith, so we can bring her in. And because she is looking for an inspiration of a metalsmith, and we'll go through this in a bit, but we're going to be looking for prowess, diplomacy, and stewardship for this. So the diplomacy and the prowess are definitely decent stats for her. The stewardship is that isn't that great. Now, because of her prowess and her diplomacy, she's very competent. So she would be someone that we can just go in and say, boom, invite to our court. And then we'll unpause it, give it a second for them to accept. Oh, we got something. This is another inspiration that I have. Tyranny, Attractus modifier. Let's do a Dynasty modifier. Dynasty probably is going to go towards Renown. Oh, did she die? She died.
I'll die before I join you!
All right, give me a second to find another courtier. All right, so we have another one here. Let's hope that she doesn't die on the way over to our court. So she has an inspiration and she wants to make a chest. So we're going to be looking at an artisan inspiration of a stat of stewardship. And so if we recruit her to our court, so the inspired person here immediately comes up and we can sponsor her to make her. Now, we still have to pay the gold. This isn't cheating our way out of the gold.
You have to pay me.
One thing that we have with the invitation to the courts is you'll notice we don't have a lot of these other negatives that we normally have. Now, of course, if they're courtiers already, if they have positions, then it's going to be harder to get them in. However, we don't have to worry about religion. We don't have to worry about culture. Inviting someone to your court is going to be a lot easier. Now, they're still going to have the opinion modifier, which is going to have your culture and your religion in there. However, it's going to be a lot less. So if you can get them invite them to your court, if you can give them some gold, for example, I tried to bribe him. It did not work. If you could find ways to get this high enough so that you can offset it, then this is the easiest way. Inviting them to your court is the easiest way to get them to come. Another thing that we could look at doing is, if we're not able to invite someone to their court, right? So we are not able to invite her to our court. We could look at what type of marriage they are in. This is only for married targets. And we could look to see if it is a matrilineal or a patrilineal marriage. This one's going to be a patrilineal. And what we could do is, we're really close with them, right? Base reluctance minus 50, lodging standards plus 50, right? So we could send him a gift. And then all of a sudden, he really likes us. He wants to come to our court. So we invited him to court, didn't bring her with us. However, because her husband's at our court, she doesn't have that negative modifier anymore that prevented her from coming to our court. The marriage game, as I discussed earlier, is harder. However, it's not impossible, but it's kind of quirky. So we'll look at her, and she's lowborn, so we can't invite her to court because she's a courtier, and we have to worry about that opinion modifier of her liege. So what we could do is we could arrange marriage, and things get weird here, because as a lowborn, if we click on him, we have that negative from the inspiration focus, right? And we also have this marrying down. You got to be careful on that. The other thing that we want to look at here is the level of splendor hidden modifier that we have worked with before it seems to be offset. Now, if we choose this person here, and they currently are part of a reputable house or dynasty, that is awesome. And we click on there, and it's only negative 72. And the reason why is they're marrying down again. I'm not actually sure what this is. I suspect because she's a courtier and a courtier marrying together, despite that being lowborn, I suspect she may be actually working on her inspiration. So maybe working on that inspiration within the court means that she's actively doing something in the court more than a knight is, and that's why it's marrying down. However, if you have a huge dynasty, you can offset this. You could look at marrying someone within your house, and then they're marrying up, right? So if they're within your lineage and they're somewhere in the line of succession to your titles, then they would be marrying up. You could look at marrying up through other dynasties, but if your dynasty is wide, you can definitely do it. Something that you need to worry about with the marriage game that is going to be an issue for someone who's working in a court is the fertility of the marriage. She is 43. She has 4 more years to have kids. He's 8 years old. And despite having claims, it's minus 106. And why is it minus 106? They're marrying up. And that's because there is a marriage will have low fertility, minus 200. So yeah, it's you got to worry about the fertility on this, and if she is this marriage doesn't give her any kids, it's not beneficial to her, right? The characters in this game have wised up, and they don't just take marriages for no reason anymore if they're doing something and they're getting paid to do something.
Yeah, you don't need a husband to be happy.
Okay, so those are some of the modifiers that you have to deal with. Another thing that when you're going through the strategy is you're going to want to pay attention to your inspirations and what the actual inspiration skills that you're going to need are. I'll link this in the description, but on the CK3 wiki, there is artifacts, and under the inspirations, there is a list here, and it'll tell you exactly what stats that you're looking for. I hope this video has helped you out. As I've worked on this, I really got inspired to create this video. I quite often have very rich realms, so just dumping money into your artifacts isn't really a big deal. But I was just willy-nilly dumping them into average artisans, right? And average people that were creating, courtiers that were creating the artifacts for me, and I was getting mixed results. But once I've started utilizing the strategy, I can bring in a lot more if I have extra gold laying around that I'm not going to need, and then I can invest in some artifacts and improve my opinions, my gifts, because you can gift artifacts, and you can do all sorts of stuff with artifacts, right? Just improve my court or improve other people's opinions of me, which always helps you out. And you haven't hit that like and subscribe button, please hit that like and subscribe button. We're almost at 500.
Let's celebrate.
We will get there. But with that, I am going to say, have yourself a good night. No, that's not how I say it. Have yourself a good morning, good afternoon, and good night, wherever you are.